All right, welcome to our latest episode of the Vets in Real Estate podcast. I am joined by Nico, former EOD tech turned residential real estate agent. So hopefully we'll have an explosive time on this one. All right, well, Nico, thank you so much for joining us on this show. I know it's an early morning for you, but our viewers won't know any difference. But thank you so much for joining us and being willing to share your story.
Yeah, of course, it's an honor. Thank you for having me. I've actually been away since 5:30 a.m., so this is not early.
But is that typical? You're still an early riser?
I am. Yeah, I got involved with my, a little bit of a hobby on the side, so it keeps me preoccupied. You got to do something outside of the space, man. If not, you go crazy.
Yeah, that's fair. And as we've interviewed more and more veterans, so many of them still keep that stupidly early schedule where they're still getting up, they're going to go work out, they're still getting up to go for a hike, or they're doing something. And I find it interesting that at least when I got out, I was like, oh heck no, I'm not waking up anymore. I'm gonna sleep in. And now I got kids, a different story. But so you still kind of keep that somewhat of a routine.
Yeah, you gotta stay mentally sharp, man. You gotta stay on your toes. You can't get complacent. You can't get lazy. It has helped me out a lot. My brother-in-law introduced me to BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've been doing that for 3 years now. I compete, and it has been the best thing. I mean, some say it's the cheapest form of therapy. It's really good. I quite enjoy it, and I wouldn't change it for the world, but. Yeah, it's been great, and I do that a lot, and it has helped a lot, especially with the transition. So if you're a listener looking to get into something, I highly recommend it.
Okay, so you spent several years Navy EOD, which that's obviously not easy to do and definitely a little stressful. But tell us about your time while you're in service.
Sure. So I joined in 2015. Became a Navy EOD tech shortly after. Shortly after, you can define that a year and a quarter of training. But I did that for 7 years active. And then for those of you that don't know what EOD is, explosive ordnance disposal. Pretty much, if you've seen the Hurt Locker, that's the best, worst example I have. So I was part of the bomb squad. I enjoyed my time, loved the job, met a lot of great people. I wouldn't change it for the world, but we want to have a family, and Natalia got pregnant, and then shortly after deployed, and then the decision came up, hey, I want to get out or not. So I made the decision to get out, but not fully. So I transitioned over to the reserves thereafter, and it's funny how it all got started. I decided to apply for the FBI. I was going for a FBI special agent position. Then I decided to switch gears slowly because I want to go back to, being family and friends back in Tampa. And thereafter, I was like, hey, let me just go do Tampa PD. I did a ride-along. Yeah, that ain't for me. I was like, I'm going to lose my badge within a week or less. But I was grateful for the opportunity, and I learned a little bit about myself at that point. And I was really contemplating doing real estate part-time. And that ride along put a lot of things in perspective and what I really wanted to do. And then when I did that ride along, right after, I was like, I got to do this real estate thing full time. So it was the best decision ever going into it full time. I was still in the reserves with them. I made that transition over. It was kind of like 5 months after my active duty time. And after that, I put another year and a half as a reservist. I was still within my job description here in Tampa at the NOSC in MacDale. And my parent command was the XU Exploitation Unit out of Maryland. And 2 years as a reservist, decided to get out shortly after, and then that's when things kicked off for real estate.
So it doesn't sound like real estate was, as you were dreaming of getting into real estate. It sounded like it kind of maybe something one day, but not a goal.
No, it was never a goal, actually. It was kind of funny how I landed in it. We were selling our house in San Diego, and I was doing it all by myself, but looked up the red tape, the requirements, all the forms and whatnot. I even hosted my own open houses. I dressed up, put a tie on. It's kind of funny. And I had agents showing up to the open house and like, hey, are you the real estate agent? I thought this was a dispo and for sale by owner. No, I'm the owner. And then good family member of ours, he out of Orlando, a top producer, he was like, he reached out. I was like, hey man, you should truly consider doing real estate when you come home. And I was like, I don't know how I do with people. I'm not a people person. I was like, all right. And so yeah, I went through the FBI thing and temp PD and I was like, well, let's try it out and see what happens. And what I have learned thus far, being in real estate for 3 years, is like, nah, I had a misconception of people. Let's just put it that way. It was more of, hey, there's a lot of great people that I love working with, and yeah, once in a while, as you know, you get that one client, but hey, it is customer service at the end of the day. No, it's been great. I never thought I was going to be in it. And here I am 3 years later. We're doing fairly well. My wife is about to join me as well. And I have met people from all walks of life. The other day, I had realized I'm actually pretty good at sales. I would have never thought about that. And like I said, I met a lot of great people. I've worked with vice admirals. I work with CEOs. I mean, really good, influential people, and people from all walks of life at the end of the day, and it's been great.
So what was that first, I don't know, year or so of real estate like for you? Obviously, you had to get your license, you had to go through all the classes and all that, but, you know, at least what we hear, and at least I know in Texas, the license doesn't really prepare you for a career in real estate. It prepares you for passing the test. The same in Florida?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, anyone can take the license. Everyone can take the class, pass the exam, get that license. I mean, if you look at the latest data that was just released last year, about 70%, some change, 72, 73, something like that, of agents sold one home or no houses back in 2024. So, that just shows you there's a whole bunch of people out there that are licensed not doing a thing, right? They're not taking the business seriously. They're doing it part-time, or they just want to get a license to even sell their own house and pocket that commission, if you want to call it that way. But I hope that answers your question there.
Yeah. So what was that first year or so like for you? I mean, what did you do? How did you start getting business? Would you just like, hey, look, I'm Nico, I'm here, and they all started flocking to you, or?
Yeah, so the first year in real estate, depending on the space that you get yourself involved, but for the most part, I think it can translate to different spaces. But for me, it was a whole lot of learning. I was in a good brokerage. I was with a different brokerage at that point when I first started, and the broker and the office manager, one-on-one coached me on how to handle different aspects of the transactions. And you got to be able to talk to people, right? The client comes first all the time, and you got to come across trustworthy, knowing they understand where they're coming from and what their needs are. But that first year, yeah, it was there was a lot of learning. Lucky for me, it was COVID time, so business was out there. That helped. But at the same time, as a new agent, you had the responsibility to all your clients to learn. So it was a lot of learning. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to hit those speed bumps. You're going to hit those walls. And going from Navy EOD to real estate, dealing with people one-on-one, and, you become more of a therapist as well. You're not just selling real estate at that time. You're a therapist. You're a counselor. You're wearing so many damn hats. But it was cool, man. It's interesting. You're learning, and it's a good feel. You can make a good living out of it if you're good and you're honest, and you take this position as a business. But yeah, it was a good time. It's hard, but it was worth it, and I'm still learning a lot. 3 years in, you never stop learning.
So what were the skills, I guess, from being a sailor, being an EOD tech? What were those skills that kind of transferred over? Obviously you're not diffusing literal bombs in a transaction. I mean, sure, there's stress and stress management, but I mean, what is it that actually translated over from your military service?
I think one of the things that prepped me up from my time in the service, especially the job that I did, just being resilient, man. There's a lot of unknowns that are going to come, head of your way. You just got to be laser focused. You got to remind yourself why you're doing it, right? and just remember what the end goal is. You know, it can be a difficult transition over to the civilian side, but you know, for us, as you know, we're contractors. We're running our own business, and what I love about it is that what you put into it is what you get out of it, right? It's not like the service, everyone gets the same check, one is slacking, you're carrying someone else's. We're like, nah, you don't do it here, you just don't get paid, and you're gonna follow with the rest.
So, I mean, I get the resiliency. I can totally get, and I joke, especially as you're starting to kind of prep for sales or a sales role. You get told no a lot. You get a lot of rejection. You've got to continually keep pushing through it. I like to joke.
A big thing, yeah.
Yeah, I like to joke that ugly guys do great in sales because we're used to being told no, right? I mean, you don't have that problem. Maybe I do, but it's that resiliency. I can absolutely see.
You look great. What are you talking about? From the show.
I can, but I appreciate it. But I think that's one of the things that a lot of folks don't understand when they come through. Really, is that resiliency, and that you are building your own business. It really is what you put into it is what you're going to get out. So what did that first year look like? Obviously, you were learning, but I mean, how many hours a week were you working? Were you just kind of 20 hours a week? Were you putting in 80 hours a week? I mean, what is outside of showing houses and all that? What did the business development side look like for you?
You probably wake up and go to sleep thinking about your business every single day. And it's funny because when you take a day off or 2 days off, you want to do like in-state vacation. A client shows up or you get a lead or something like that, and you're not available, and you're like, shoot, that it doesn't happen when you're there, and then when it happens when you're gone. It's just like it happens all the time, and people in the space talk about that all the time. But you like I said, you wake up, and I mean, for me personally, it was waking up, going to sleep, thinking about it, thinking about ways to perfecting it or making things a little bit more efficient. So he was either making cold calls or, which, everyone has their own opinion on cold calls, but he was either following up with clients, going to classes, going to the brokerage, taking those in-person classes, or going just online courses. There's so much training out there that, that first year you put in a lot of time. And most of that time is going to be in-person trainings, online trainings. And if especially you start adding clients, now you got to kind of put a pause on that training, not necessarily, but you got to find a way to fit it in. But then those clients come first, and then you're showing houses. You're either going to listen presentation, or you're on a phone call with the broker because something came up during the transaction. You don't know how to handle it. And at the same time, you don't want to come across as a newbie to that client, right?
Sure.
But at the same time, you gotta be honest. You can't tell them, hey, you can't, falsify your credentials, if you want to put it that way. But, phone calls, you're on the road, you're thinking about how to make systems efficiencies within your systems, learning how to use your CRM, learning how to market yourself, sending out mailers. I mean, you're wearing so many hats as a real estate agent, from you're an your own personal accountant, your own, sorry about that. You're on your own personal accountant, you're opening doors to show property, you're marketing yourself, your SEO, you're designing your website. I mean, there's so many things that you're doing and you're learning that you're like, most people get overwhelmed. But at the same time, you're doing all those little things on the side to support your main business. You can't forget like how to lead generation, right, and how to go after, clients. But there's so many hats. There's so many hats that you have to wear that first year, and I feel like that's when people get overwhelmed. So that's when you have to learn how to stay organized and how to prioritize tasks. Like, what are the money-making tasks? What are those monies that support those money-making tasks? So, a lot of learning takes place.
How did you stay organized in that matter? I know that's, I work with new agents on a regular basis in the commercial space, but how did you find that you were able to stay organized and stay focused on those tasks?
So me personally, I love Google Calendar. I'm able to create tasks, events, and then I use color coding for priorities, what's important, what's not. For example, money-making activities are green, family activities are orange. That's kind of like the system I use. It helps me a lot with staying on. I started writing things down initially, and it was just all over the place. Scribble here, scratch this, add something. You just end up everywhere. But for me, just keeping it very simple with a Google Calendar, and then using organizing my stuff with Zoom calls if I have to do that. Technology is a big thing. So if you don't know how to use something, you better learn to systemize things, make things efficiency. I'm all about efficiency and systems. If it wasn't for that, I would be all over the place, and it would be very difficult to prioritize tasks. And also, you got to remember, don't put your family things aside for too long, because then that burner, it's going to burn out, and that's not something that you want as well. Your mental health, your family, workout and all that stuff. So everything is included in there. So, I'm taking care of myself. By taking care of myself, my family's being taken care of, and me knowing that my family's being taken care of, I'm staying at a level-headed, platform, if you want to call it that, and then my business is going to continue to be taken care of the proper way and grow accordingly.
You've said this a couple times, and you've prioritized family, and even listening to you said part of the reason why you got out of the Navy was because you wanted to have a family, you wanted to move to that next level, there. How have you been able to, I mean, you've been in the industry long enough, the divorce rate, while not as high as the military, I mean, in real estate, it's pretty up there too.
Divorce is a lot higher in the service, especially EOD, than it is in the
Yeah. So how do you prioritize your family? Maybe more asking personally, because this is always something I've struggled with as well, being maybe more of a workaholic. How do you prioritize that family? Obviously, you're time blocking, but what have you been able to do to kind of make that successful?
There's a lot of professionals in the industry and in different industries that they talk about time blocking. You hear that a lot, I'm sure. And definitely, if I don't have if there's things I can put aside from work, and there's no things that demand my time right now, immediately, I'm spending time with family. If there's no things if there's no task that demand my immediate attention on the weekend, I'm going out with family. We go to the zoo, we go to the aquarium, we do whatever it is that we can do in Tampa. And there's so many things that you can do in Tampa. You never get bored. But yeah, it's very easy for me, because once you make that clear distinction on what's important, I think everything just falls in place. So if I'm not doing business, I'm with family. That's simple, basically. My family is my friends. I don't go out partying. I don't drink. I don't do none of that stuff. So it's very easy for me to put things down. Go spend time with my wife Natalia. Take Sevy to the aquarium, whatever that might be. Amateur works, you name it. Initially, it was hard, especially that first year. Transitioning over to a new field. It was very hard for me to put things down and they work. Like I said, I wake up, go to sleep, thinking business. Now I have a better structure, a better way to deal with those things. And I let clients know. That hey, if I can't get back, if you call and I don't pick up, I'll get back with you within 30 minutes or less. I'll let you know when we can connect. But I'm always available to them. But there's that line you got to learn eventually. Like, hey, I'm with family right now. I'll call you immediately as I'm done. And usually people are very understanding of that. You just got to be upfront and let them know, hey, this is what important for me. You're important. My family is also. And if someone wants to give you a little bit of an issue with that, then maybe you guys are not meant for each other, which is fine. But yeah, that's how I've been doing it, and it's been working.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I think early on, especially, that's where I think a lot of folks struggle is they don't learn how to set a boundary.
Yep. You gotta set boundaries from the very beginning, and that's with anything really, and anyone. With clients or your family members as well. You gotta say what your priorities are, and everyone has to be on the same page. So setting those boundaries up from day one, they're gonna see you as a true professional. They're gonna know you're serious, and they're gonna know you're gonna take care of them. But they have to respect those boundaries.
No, that's fair. I can definitely see it. So when you're coming out, you just get your license. What is it that you're looking for in that first brokerage? Or maybe in hindsight, what is it that you wish or you're glad you found in that first brokerage that you went to?
So that family member I told you about that mentioned I should do real estate. He used to work out of Orlando. He's the one that told me, hey, because I remember that first conversation. It was like a follow-on conversation that, hey, I'm actually going to do real estate. I'm thinking about doing it, this and that. And as I was getting involved, I remember mentioning to her, hey, I'm going to go and get interviewed by this broker. And I'm like, no. He stopped me right there. It's like, no, you're a contractor. They don't interview you. You interview them. So I was like, all right, that's good to know. So once I got my license, I set up like 12, 13 different like appointments with different brokerages. There was like a few of them that was like the same brokerage, just a different franchise. And you go interview this brokers and you tell them, hey, what you can do for me. And that's how I did it. That's how I was able to identify, okay, this is the brokers I want to deal with. This is the broker that I want to deal with because they're going to provide me with this tools, this technology, the most important thing, all the tools, all the systems and all, they're all the same. That shouldn't be like a deciding factor. The deciding factor is going to be who's going to be there to coach you one-on-one. What's their track record? What's their intentions? Do you click with that person? Do you get along? That was the deciding factor for me that, hey, I'm going to pick this brokerage, I'm going to pick this broker and that office manager because they're going to be with me, holding my hand initially, and then they're going to coach me right. And they had a good track record, and I liked their personality. We clicked, we hit it off, and that's kind of how I did it. That's how I made that decision.
I like that switch because a lot of times, especially with new agents, they're like, I got hired by so-and-so Realty. And I'm like, well, you're not really hired. You're a contractor.
Yeah, they make their decisions on splits. Like, oh, this brokerage is 0% commission split. This brokerage is like, no, it's not. It's not really about that. It's not. Truly isn't. In that case, I did ended up with a better split, but it wasn't because of that. It was because everything else lined up before that. So if you go in there with that kind of mindset, oh, I just want to make the most. I don't care about anything else. Well, you're gonna start off in the wrong path. I'm not saying you're not going to be successful because there's a lot of other variables that we got to take into account. But at the same time, you got to make that decision based on, what truly matters, what's going to build your career the right way. You got to have the right person on your side, the right coaches with the right backing. If not everything, you're just starting off with a weak foundation. If you're gonna start in this business with that kind of foundation, you might have a couple you might have a bumpy road ahead.
So now that you're a few years into it, you've obviously stayed in the industry past the 2-year mark, which most struggle to get past, right? How have you seen your career start to go, or how have you seen your business start to go differently? I know you mentioned kind of as we're warming up that it sounds like your spouse is getting ready to come onto the team, that she's going to start working with you. Like, how is that business shifting now that you've been at it for a few years?
So as far as business growth and all that, one of the biggest things is that we are becoming known in the community as, hey, this is who they are, Nico, Natalia. A lot of people getting to know us outside of our primary family and friends. Like, for example, we're very involved with our neighborhood. For example, we have a Facebook community page. They're making me one of the board members for the HOA. We're part of Gray Bull Rescue, which is an amazing nonprofit we became members of about 2.5 years ago. Amazing things that they do. They rescue American citizens and allies worldwide from hostage situations. They also do humanitarian assistance here on stateside. So being part of that group, all these little things, being part of the jiu-jitsu community, all these little things have increased our sphere of influence for the good reasons. We're not doing it for the bad reasons, but you can see that, hey, word gets around, hey, this is what we do, and it has helped our business. And I feel like in the future, it's going to continue to do so. We have worked with a lot of the bomb techs out of MacDeal here at the bomb shop. So that gets spread out, So all these little different pockets of what they call SOI, spheres of influence, it's expanding, it continues to grow. And we're getting to a point where, Natalia she's gonna join us. I'm trying to getting involved with the REO side of banks now. I have an in now with Navy Fed. I'm trying to work something out. It's in the works, not completely done, but the plan is for me to start conducting business with the REO side of things, and she's going to be taking a little bit more of a role as, what I have done so far within this past 3 years.
So it's really just naturally seeing your business grow, going out there doing the right things, and then just being a part of the community is just listening to you. That's what it sounds like. It's just kind of growing your business, is treating customers well and being out there, being seen.
Yeah. So far, the way that we have been doing it, we feel like it's the right way. And you just gotta do it right. You gotta do it right. You gotta have good intentions. You gotta always put the client ahead. I have told people, hey, don't buy this house. One of the previous clients that I had, actually, Vice Admiral, sold a house back 2 years ago, and he's having a couple little issues with their tenants, and he was like, Nico, I just want to sell his house, and then you can fill out the rest of the sentence there, but I was like, hey, don't sell it. Why you don't sell it? So he was kind of confused as to why me, the guy that makes a living out of selling houses, like, why am I telling him not to sell it? Because I actually don't want to sell your house. And this is why, A, B, and C. And he appreciated that. So I've done that several times with people, just got to be honest and let them know. And it tends to work out. I have gotten referrals from past clients, which is a good indicator that, hey, we actually did a good, representing them right. It's working. You can go on our Google business page to review stuff for themselves, or website. I mean, so far, all those are things, key metrics, things that we keep track of, and tells us, hey, we are doing something right. Just because we're doing something right, how can we make it better? So we're always looking for ways to improve and, like I said, systemize. But at the same time, is there something that we can do better to improve that customer service for the client? Like just recently, we started adding cappuccinos for every time we go to our properties. So if you go to our property with us, here's a cappuccino. We got our business logo in the cup and everything like that. So it's kind of funny. Those are little things that people appreciate. Like, wow, I remember touring properties with that agent, and every time we went and walked properties, he made us a cappuccino.
They're all hyped up and caffeinated, but
yeah. It might be dumb, it might be something silly, but hey, that can be a big thing, and they'll remember that. They will remember that. So
I like that. Just doing what's right and just being memorable. I mean, that sounds, you're making it sound way too easy.
Well, it takes time. That's what I said. Hey, that first year, and I mean, I continue to do so sometimes, but hey, you wake up, you go to sleep thinking about the business. It's your baby. You're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
So not anyone else. So you're going to make the best out of it, or you either take it to the top, or, you won't last long, basically.
So you've mentioned a couple of times kind of working with prior military. Have you found a good bit of your sphere is that prior military community? And are you doing anything specifically to market yourself as, look at me, the veteran, or look at me as the bomb squad guy?
Yeah, so, my background does help a lot. So being part of Great Bull helps, Great Bull Rescue. We sponsor Rumpello in downtown Tampa. We have a banner there that kind of helps. Having worked with several people coming in and out of MacDill Air Force Base here in Tampa as well helps. We have helped various clients from the bomb shop out of MacDill, which helps. We're actually going to start doing a couple more things with them this year, given that we had our biggest touch of clients at the bomb shop, which makes sense that we did. So we're going to start doing a couple things for them this year. It's in the works. We're still working on that. I'm not sure what exactly we're going to do with them, but we're going to be working with them a little bit more, because we have gotten business from them. But yeah, we also work with a lot of clients coming from Veterans United as well. And yeah, that's about it. I think that kind of sums it up. But yeah, having that background, being part of military service, it does help create a certain level of trust already. And then you say Navy EOD, I'm like, okay, I would like to work with a bomb guy. That would be cool, So yeah, it tends to help establish some level of credibility, and then you also tell them, hey, I actually do this full time. This is not a part-time gig. This is not a little thing on the side. This is actually, this is what I do for a living now. This is serious.
Yeah, no, I can see it. It makes sense, and I would agree. I think a lot of times as veterans like to work with other veterans because, I mean, we talk to each other different. The rapport the rapport is really quick because you served, okay, cool, and like obviously it's usually some jokes, especially if they're a Marine, then we all make jokes, but you make some jokes real quick, and then everybody's cool, and then we just build rapport a little bit quicker with one another.
Yeah, you gotta find out how thick that skin is. I gotta bring it down. Hold on a second, I went too far.
Yeah, right. I've done that too. So, if you were to sit back and look at your transitioning, you're getting into you're getting real estate in the first year or so. Is there anything that you would have done differently, or in hindsight, wish you didn't learn the lesson as hard or as difficult as you learned the lesson?
Me personally, it was good for me to go through all of those steps that I did. I don't regret none of it, because even though you had all those, like I said, gone through that FBI process, and then now I'm going to go to Tampa, and then we were here staying with family as I was transitioning. We didn't have all we had was a little room to ourselves. And it was three of us. We didn't have a place to live yet. And then the whole Tampa PD thing, the ride along. It was kind of like moments where like, what's gonna happen? Oh shoot, I don't know. Like, you're having like identity issues. We all kind of have that sometimes, like, oh, I used to be this, then who am I now? Well, you got to remember, like, you are who you are, regardless of what your job description is and job title. You got to put all that aside. None of that matters. It's like, who are you as a person and what you really want to do, and what's your big why? I'm big into that. Yeah, I don't regret none of that. And there's going to be dark spots where like you get lost, but going through those steps for me helped me identify, okay, this is not my thing. I think this is it. And even if the path is not very clear, making that decision for me, like, hey, doing real estate full time, it was the right decision, and it still is. And it's like opening the doors to other options, because it's like when we were chatting prior to podcast, it's like there's so many things you can do in real estate, right? There's so many avenues you can. If someone is contemplating doing this, getting the space, man, you don't have to do residential. You can do commercial, and then within commercial, there's different things. Multifamily. You got just land. All those things, right? But as far as difficult moments, yeah. But they were all worth it. They were all worth it, and learned quite a lot about myself. And I know I'm in a good path here, and it's an exciting one.
No, it sounds great, and it's obviously we can see why you've had success. Just that resiliency, that mindset, and just the willing to kind of embrace the suck of building a business and growing. We can definitely see why you found success. Well, Nico, I appreciate so much of your time and appreciate you sharing. And we do get questions from time to time in the chat, so hopefully you're willing to jump on and answer some of those questions if anybody does have any questions for you as well. So we'll appreciate that.
100%.
Yeah, we'll appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time, Nico, and we'll look forward to having you on again at some point.
Thank you for having me, Will. Appreciate it.